Добрый день, дорогие друзья. Я думаю, мы можем начинать. Сперва давайте проверим у всех звук, слышно ли меня и видно ли наш экран. Пожалуйста, напишите в чате плюсики, либо да. Сначала проверим связь и будем начинать тогда. Отлично. Супер. Здорово, тогда, я думаю, мы можем начинать. Здравствуйте еще раз. Рада поприветствовать вас на нашем вебинаре, который посвящен обучению в Канаде. Мы сегодня поговорим не только об обучении в Канаде, а также поговорим о том, как можно из российского вуза перевестись в канадский, какие опции есть для наших студентов, какие программы для них доступны, и поговорим о требованиях к зачислению. Сегодняшний вебинар для вас проводит компания Students International. Меня зовут Арпине, я являюсь сотрудником московского офиса нашей компании, являюсь ведущим менеджером и работаю в компании уже 11 лет. Со мной сегодня мне помогает вести данное мероприятие мой коллега Николай.
Да, всем добрый вечер, спасибо большое, что присоединились. Уверен, что сегодняшнее мероприятие будет полезно многим, потому что я знаю, насколько всегда актуальным стоит вопрос перевода в канадские вузы студентов, которые уже сейчас выбрали себе высшее учебное заведение в своей стране. Поэтому желаю всем интересного и информативного мероприятия.
Спасибо большое. И помогает мне сегодня также мой коллега, сотрудник нашего киевского офиса Ростислав Козлов.
Здравствуйте. Да, друзья, здравствуйте. Как представила меня уже Арпине, я занимаюсь канадским направлением в нашей украинской части компании Students International и, конечно же, буду рад помочь вам разобраться, ответить на все вопросы, так как все-таки маленькие разбежности, но присутствуют. Поэтому я здесь, пожалуйста, если что, все друзья из Украины, кто сегодня с нами, пожалуйста, я здесь для вас.
Немного расскажу о нашей компании, и в конце мы обязательно поделимся нашими контактами, как в России, так и в Украине. Компания Students International была основана в 1992 году, и вот уже успешно, более 28 лет, мы работаем на рынке международного образования. Мы поможем вам подобрать учебное заведение оптимальное для вас, выбрать страну, помочь с зачислением и получить визу. Для наших маленьких деток мы также предлагаем услуги курирования за рубежом. Помимо консалтинга, наше агентство является IELTS-тест-центром. Как в России, так и в Украине вы можете сдать любой экзамен IELTS, начиная от академического модуля, заканчивая IELTS UKVI, даже как же не обойтись без подготовки к данному экзамену. Наша школа IELTS School с радостью поможет вам подготовиться к экзамену и набрать необходимый балл, к которому вы стремитесь. А теперь, я думаю, мы можем перейти к нашей основной части данного вебинара. Я представлю наших коллег, которые будут сегодня помогать вести данное мероприятие. Скажу сразу, что оно будет на английском языке. Где-то какие-то ремарочки мы будем делать на русском языке. Я думаю, для вас это не будет сложностью. Если будут вопросы, пожалуйста, у вас есть чат, вы можете задавать все вопросы там, либо вопросы-ответы. Она также доступна. Пожалуйста, задавайте свои вопросы, мы будем по ходу нашего мероприятия на них отвечать. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Tatiana. Please kindly turn on your cameras and unmute yourself.
Good morning, Arpine.
I know
Good morning, everyone who joined.
Good morning, everybody. It's really nice to be here today.
Good morning. Сегодня мы поговорим об обучении в двух университетах. Они расположены на абсолютно разных побережьях Канады. Это Thompson Rivers University, который расположен на западном побережье, город Кемлупс. Татьяна нам подробнее чуть позже расскажет об этом. И Роберт из Carleton University на восточном побережье Канады, в столице, в самом сердце нашей прекрасной страны, город Оттава, Carleton University. Good morning, Robert. How is the weather today in Kemloops and in Ottawa?
Good afternoon to everybody. Here in Ottawa, the weather is agreeable. It's a snowy day. It's a little chilly, but it's nothing we can't manage.
It's still too early.
Too early?
It's still too early to say what's happening in Kemloops because 7 a.m., right? Like we still have to wake up and see, but comparing to yesterday, we had positive 6 degrees. So a little bit of rain, was drizzling a little bit yesterday, but other than that, I don't think we have snow anymore.
It's a bit cold here in Moscow today. It's like -11, something like that. And we have snow a little bit. But do you have sun? It was, by the way, very sunny today in Moscow.
I hope that we will have sun. It's still dawning. So again, too early to say, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully the day is going to be sunny.
That would be great. Today's webinar, we will be conducting in discussion mode. So I'll be asking questions and you'll be answering them in order. So we'll try to help our students to make the right choice and explain them how it's working and what options of study they have. The first question I will start our discussion is about university location. As if you don't mind, Robert, the ladies will be first. So Tatiana, let's talk about Thompson Rivers University and about its location.
Great. So we are located not too far from Vancouver. I would say a short 45-minute flight or a 3-hour drive by car, 3.5, depending on the traffic. So we are pretty much in the heart of the province of British Columbia, which is the western part of Canada. It is a beautiful location. Great place if you want to also not just come and study, but explore the rest of the province. Very strategic location, easy access to the coast with Vancouver, to the island from there, and the rest of the province, Okanagan, the wine region, lakes and so on, for vineyard, orchards and so on. So really good location, climate-wise as well. We have clear all 4 seasons. And again, as I mentioned earlier, quite warm, right? Yes, we still see snow. Usually we do have some snow in winter. There's second largest ski resort, not too far from the city area, just within 40-minute drive. But again, all 4 seasons are present, very nice and mild climate, dry climate, so we don't have that humidity and freezing winters per se. When it comes to location, I think what we need to also specify is that the city of Kemloops is a mid-sized city according to the size of the country, right? So we're not a multi-million city, metropolitan city, but we are very comfortable for the student life, for the life of those who will be relocating maybe for the first time by themselves, without the family, without the parent support, because it brings the sense of a community, a very welcoming environment, but also offers the affordability, because if we go outside of the metropolitan cities, you will see right away that the cost of living is far more affordable, including your rent, your even groceries. You'll see the difference in the grocery bill as well. It's a great location, lots of things to do. It will be a very good destination for those who are seeking the outdoors, who really enjoy spending the quality time. So that would be really a good place for that type of student who wants to still have a feeling that I am in the city, but also enjoy the vastness, the sceneries, and the access to the outdoor and other resources.
Thank you, Tatiana. Speaking about the cost of living, how much it would be to rent probably 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in Kamloops if we compare, for example, a bigger city like Vancouver?
It will depend on the facility that you rent, because there's, again, Kemlup's is growing really rapidly. So there's a lot of new housing developments. If you're looking into a brand new building that will also offer you gym in the building and so on, so great facilities, you would be looking probably at $1,200 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. If it's an older facility, you can even rent it for $1,000, $1,100 a month. So still quite affordable. If you look at Vancouver, you will need to start with at least double the budget.
Well, very expensive, actually. Yeah, thank you. Moving to Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
Yeah. So yeah, Carleton University is based in the capital city of Canada, which of course is Ottawa. Perhaps some of you have had a chance to visit Canada, maybe as a tourist. If not, Ottawa, of course, is located between the major cities of Toronto and Montreal, but within the province of Ontario. So just right on the border with the province of Quebec and quite close to the US border as well. It's a great location. I think students in general really value in studying in a G8 capital like Ottawa. Because of course, first and foremost, the infrastructure in the city is very accessible. So whether you're studying political science or engineering or design or commerce, the resources found in this city are exceptional and easily accessed. So whether you want to get experience, whether you're looking to do firsthand research, volunteer, seek part-time employment, or even just engage with people that speak on campus regularly about research and current events, it's really an exceptional location from that perspective. In terms of livability, the city is just over 1 million, which makes us a medium-sized North American city. It's kind of like the Goldilocks sort of size, if you will, because it's big enough that it hosts all the infrastructure of a really large city like a Toronto. So nightlife, international cultural events, sporting events, and activities like that. But at the same time, it's very livable. So traffic congestion, pollution, safety, those types of things are not really a concern. Cost of living, of course, compares quite favorably to really large urban centers as well. In terms of what it's like to live in Ottawa, it's a city where many people are bilingual in English and French. So there's a really interesting French sort of flavor to the city as well. But of course, by virtue of being the capital, you've got all of the diplomatic infrastructure. It's a very international context as well. It's also one of several post-secondary institutions. So there's a huge number of students that come and live and study in Ottawa every year, which I think also creates a really young dynamic to Ottawa that a lot of students really find to be quite interesting as well.
Speaking about renting an apartment in Ottawa, how much it will be for 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, so our students can compare?
Yeah, it's a good question. Housing is always a challenge, isn't it? So we have great housing on campus, and that's something maybe I can address a little bit later. But if you were looking to live off campus and rent, a 1-bedroom apartment or potentially share a house with some roommates, you'd be looking at anywhere between $900 to, I don't know, $2,000 a month, depending upon sort of the size and scale and niceness of the facility, you could say. So it can be quite affordable. But if you have, higher level of criteria, then perhaps you might pay a little bit more. Overall, though, of course, if you were to compare Ottawa to a city like Toronto, it's substantially less expensive for that.
Well, since we know that Ottawa is the capital and both English and French are official languages, probably students will ask, should I know French in order to come to Ottawa, or English would be enough?
Yeah, so we're an English language university in a bilingual context. So certainly don't have to speak French to come and study at Carleton. It's something you could do if you wanted to do. And of course, the context would allow you to take your newly acquired linguistic skills out into the community and be able to spontaneously just, practice. So it's certainly something that people like to do, but it's not mandatory and it's not expected.
Perfect. Now, we'll talk about clubs, etc. Now speaking about the university campus, Tatiana, please tell us more. We see this beautiful campus, what facilities you have, and what kind of accommodations does TRU offer?
Yes, we do have a really great campus. It's a lot of green space as well, so almost like a park area with the study buildings, with accommodation provided on campus for students to choose from as well. So overall, we have about 240 acres. That's the whole campus territory that we have. There's great sport facility, state-of-the-art tournament capital center with a newly renovated aquatic center, so Olympic-sized swimming pool that we're talking about, some water slides, jacuzzi, and so on, operating even during the COVID time with all the restrictions, almost like by appointments in a way. It's a great sport facility. What I didn't mention is Kemlup's is also known as a sport tournament capital, so hence great facility for those who are into sports, both on campus and within the city limits. Amazing study spaces, because again, when we're going to study at the university, we need to consider, are there a lot of facilities that would allow me to study individually, maybe in a quiet space, or more in a vibrant space where there's a lot of other students and chitter chatter at the background. Maybe I want to study at the pub that we have on campus, right? And of course, a lot of study spaces for group projects as well. The students can book and either rehearse their presentation or just brainstorm their different activities. So lots of study spaces. Of course, there's also lots of support that we have on campus, as both academic support, career support types. Again, yes, thank you for showing some other facilities that we have. So again, as you can see, there's a lot of open space on our campus, a very nice layout in terms of navigation. It usually doesn't take our students more than 10 minutes to get from one building on campus to another building on campus. There's lots of different cafeterias, either full, I would say mini restaurants, right? Say run by those students who study a culinary art program where students can grab a bite, small coffee shops from Starbucks, Tim Hortons, other smaller cafeterias where students can grab a bite on campus. And of course, other facilities like even daycare, radio, where students can volunteer, host their show, and so on. When it comes to accommodation, we do provide students with the options. Of course, those who are coming under the age of 19, which is the age of maturity here in British Columbia, we'll give them the option to either stay in one of the residences on our campus or at a homestay. Mind you that the homestay database is TRU's database. We don't work with a third party to place our students. So every family that we place our student into has been inspected by TRU staff. We've done the whole interview process, visited the house, right, to assess the facility, the room where students are going to be staying. And of course, they have to undergo very safe, right, for students to stay in a homestay. And there's two residences that are right on our campus, tall building that we call North Tower. I would say that this is more like a hotel style in a way, where students have their own private bedroom. They only share some common area, little kitchenette unit with another roommate of the same gender. And there's always one bathroom for every 2 rooms in the block. Great facilities overall in the building, from a mini gym, yoga studio, some lounges, game rooms, and so on for students to get together, either for a study project or just to watch the movies or pizza night and so on. Another facility on campus is more of a simple student housing that offers a really good budget, small room, yet has everything that students usually need, from a bed to a working desk, shared bathroom facility with 3 other roommates, again, of the same gender. And we also offer accommodation outside of university premises, which is literally across the street from university. Our East Village is another option for students. So depending on the budget that you work with, we can always find the facility either on campus or right across the street from the university for you to stay. And those residences are usually booked for full academic year. So that's important to keep in mind, that it's not a month-to-month type of arrangement. It's usually a full academic year, 2 semesters type of accommodation.
Thank you, Tatiana. And how close are the homestays? Can student walk, or he or she should take some transportation to reach the university?
Well, that's a good question, because the way we are positioned in the city, which is right in the center of, I would say, modern city center, close proximity to grocery stores, close proximity to banks, other infrastructure in the city. Some students may even have homestays that are within the walking distance. But again, it's quite common for students to catch the bus to get to the homestay and back to the university. Students do not pay for the bus service. Usually their student ID card becomes the access to the public transit within the city. And as we place them into the homestays, the sooner you book the family, the higher the chances are that you're going to be pretty close to campus, either 5 to 7 minute bus drive or maybe even within the walking distance. But again, even though the city is very spread out, and not a dense, very spread out, we usually tend to place our students to the homestays that would be it's no more than half an hour getting to campus. That would be like the farthest the students can leave, but it's usually within 5 to 10 minute reach to the campus.
Yeah, it's pretty close, and according to our students' experience, they are very happy with the homestays you provide. Thank you very much.
We're happy to accommodate students.
Moving to Carleton University, Rob, let's talk about the community, and we will talk about the perfect campus you have.
Yeah, so Carleton University, of course, we're considered to be a mid-sized university within the Canadian context. So about 31,000 students that study bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs. But I think an important and interesting consideration is that about 15% or 4,500 students are from outside of Canada. So, the Carleton community is comprised of students from the US and Mexico and Latin America, Europe, Asia, Africa. I mention that because I think as a student coming to Canada, being part of this international context, you have opportunities to learn from fellow students, engage with different perspectives, connect with people from all over the world. When you graduate, of course, whether you stay in Ottawa, you return home, you go to another location, you're part of this international community of alumni, which is helpful for work purposes, but also for learning and just, connecting with people from all over the place. So I certainly think that's one of the things Carleton's quite good at. In terms of our campus, it's a really beautiful campus in the heart of the city. So here you can see sort of that section in the middle of the picture. That's the entire campus. So all of Carleton is grouped together in central Ottawa, but on a campus-based university as well. And in many ways, Carleton functions like a mini city within the city itself. So on campus, you're going to find housing, medical facilities, amazing sports facilities, including an Olympic-sized swimming pool, indoor and outdoor tennis courts, 2 skating rinks, obviously, vibrant student life. We have more than 200 different student societies. We have the oldest campus radio station in Canada, led by students. You can write for the student newspaper. Really everything you need is on campus, but you don't get that at the expense of location because we are based in the central part of the city, served by the Ottawa train, which is part of our public transportation system, and it's available to students free of charge. So you really benefit from that close-knit community experience you get by virtue of being a contained campus, but not at the expense of location. So you don't have to take a bus for 2 hours to get into the city center because you're already there. And I think that's great for recreation, obviously, if you want to go out with your friends for a night out, but also for some of those academic items I mentioned, being in Ottawa, being able to connect with key infrastructure found in the city as well. The other thing I'd mention is you can see we're bordered by 2 waterways, one of which is the Rideau Canal, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We spoke at the very beginning about how the weather is here. It's a little bit cooler today. Of course, in the winter, the Rideau Canal turns into the world's largest skating rink, and we're fairly close to some great downhill skiing and snowboarding. Ottawa boasts Nordic ski trails that are groomed throughout the city. And of course, summers are quite warm. So you'll find distinctly changing seasons all the time. I think a lot of people really find that interesting. Another thing I'd mention, I invite all of our guests today to visit us at Carleton if you're able to come. Obviously, COVID-19 makes that a bit challenging. But do a virtual tour. You can do that through our websites. What you can't see in the picture is every single building on our campus is connected by underground tunnels. So if it is a chilly winter day and you live on campus and you don't really feel like going outside, you can just use the tunnel system to connect with any building on campus as well. People paint murals down there. It's kind of an interesting aspect of the campus, and a lot of people really remember that after visiting Carleton for the first time.
How much does it take to cross the whole campus, like from one end to the other end? It's pretty big, actually.
Yeah, it's an interesting place in that sense because it's 52 hectares of green park-like space in the city center. And so the interesting thing is Carleton has room to grow. So I've been with the university for about 12 years now. And every year over that time, we've constructed a new building. So it's nice because we have, really new relevant infrastructure, state-of-the-art facilities. We have room to grow. So we're continuing to expand. So yeah, for sure, walking across campus could take about 20 minutes, but it's a beautiful green space. There's all kinds of outdoor spaces for studying in the fall and in the warmer weather. As well, you can find quiet spaces, but also a lot of students space as well. So places where you can connect with fellow students, where you can get involved in the campus life. I myself have studied at a few different universities across different degrees. I do think this is one of the things Carleton does really well, providing opportunities for students to connect and to learn and grow. And whether it's, playing a sport, getting involved in competitive athletics, our men's Ravens basketball team has been the top school for basketball in Canada for a huge run now, or even just getting involved in like chess club. There really is something for everybody.
Thank you so much. We are moving forward. Let me see. Yes, I think you've mentioned about living in residence. How about homestays? Do you offer such options like do TRU?
We don't offer homestays, but we do offer off-campus housing support. So, of course, guaranteed residence is a really nice thing to take advantage of. Living on campus gives you access to a lot of other students to make really strong friendships. We have private rooms. Well, actually, at this stage, all rooms are private, co-ed, gender-segregated dorms. Overall, we do our best to put people in environments where they're going to thrive and be happy. The food we serve on campus has won awards for being really good, locally sourced, prepared, fresh, on demand. Other options, though, yeah, we don't offer homestay, but we do offer off-campus housing support. So whether that's connecting with other students to rent a house or looking for guidance about what landlords can ask, what's reasonable for rent, which areas you might want to consider for living, all of that's available at Carleton as well.
I'm sorry, but I must ask, the photo in the center of the slide, it looks like a 5-star hotel. Is it really how it looks like the residence in Carleton?
Yeah, we've got beautiful spaces for students for sure. Of course, they've been built over time, so some of our residences are older than others, but overall they refurbish them on a regular basis. So yeah, it's really nice, comfortable housing. A lot of students like to live on campus at the beginning. Some love it and they stay for their entire duration. After a year, if you want to live off campus, renting with a couple of friends can be a little bit less expensive. So, some people that are looking to save might seek something like that out.
Perfect. Okay, then Tatiana, let's talk about why students should choose TRU. Why they should come and study in Kemlup's? Let's talk about the advantages.
Yes, well, we are in a way a very unique university because we are a public university, but we are what I would call a teaching university, right? So not only focusing on the research opportunities for students, but focusing on a lot of practicalities. So our main goal is to prepare students to be job ready upon graduation from the university. Thus, we are providing a very intimate classroom environment. As you can see, our classes are fairly small. I would say 31 students, that's the average classroom size at our university. Students receive that individual approach from the instructor. A lot of our professors are actually coming from the industry. So again, they bring that valuable perspective of here's how it's done in a real working environment. Let's take a look at the real case scenarios. Let me connect you with other professionals within the industry. So again, we want to make sure that our students are not only looking at the theory, but also understand the implementation of that theory through the practicalities. Again, it's a very diverse environment, right? So when we come in to study at TRU, there's a great chance to learn from each other as well, getting to understand the communication, the interaction, cross-cultural communication, and so on. A lot of our programs offer co-op opportunities. So in a way, that is a paid internship program where students are still taking their classes, still being the student, but as of the third year, they can start going and working for that full semester, 4 months or maybe 8 months at once at one of the companies that are relevant to the area of the studies. Lots of support for students to get that placement, preparation for their interview skills, and so on. So co-op programs are available for our students, especially seeking the undergraduate degree. Most of our students have that. And of course, the campus environment, it's a vibrant environment where students can start building their experience, I would say working on expanding their resume and making sure they are competitive upon graduation while they're still a student.
Usually students stay in Kemlups to find co-op, or they are free to move all over the Canada or maybe go abroad.
This is a program that is opened across the country. So there's no limitations to only seeking for a company within Kamloops or within British Columbia. We have already built a very good database of the companies who work with TRU. Those are from the corporations to municipal sector, governmental sector, and so on. So really solid database of the companies that usually hire TRU students for that co-op term. We have a division co-op department that works with students one-on-one to help find a placement, to help secure the interview, prepare students for the interview. There's going to be the whole class that they need to take to understand the skill sets that they need before they go into the work environment, the expectations that they must have, that the potential company, potential employer will have, and so on. So there's a lot of support. And again, the more mobile students are, the higher the chances of students to finding the right job that they are looking for. It gives also students that chance to understand the program that I'm taking right now is indeed my passion, almost to reconfirm and see that what the job that I'm looking for, right, my ideal job entails. Of course, outside of COPE, as I already mentioned, there's ways for students to start building their Canadian experience while still being on campus through different volunteer programs that we have, participate in different conferences, summer camps that we run here on campus too. There's a number of clubs that students can be a part of, whether it's a club based on common interest, anything from eco club, chess, music, photography, and so on, to, of course, more professionally oriented clubs like accounting club, business clubs, and other clubs that students get to create. So there's a chance for either to be part of existing club for a student, or if they see that their interest is still not represented, to create their own club, which will be great for their resume. The opportunity for students to also engage in I would say academic type of activities, from supplemental learning, become a peer mentor. So again, there's an opportunity for them to be very active, and that is the way for students to find successful employment upon graduation, because you will have your references, you will even have people who recommend you to other people that they know, or they will tell you, I know so-and-so is hiring, I see you being very active, I think you need to apply. So because we are a very I don't want to say a small community, but this is the community where you can stand out, right? There's that expression that you'd rather be a shark in a smaller pond than a tiny fish in a bigger pond. So this is the chance for you to be that shark who can stand out and then jumpstart your future career upon graduation.
And extra support that you offer to students.
Yes. Yes, what we do recognize is that especially younger students who will be graduating from high school, moving to new environment, new country, new culture, new academic expectations, they need that support. They need some guidance as to how to be successful students, what to expect, how to build your even timeline to graduate within those 4 years that you've planned, your schedule, even your time management skills, right? So there's a lot of I would say workshops at the beginning of the semester through the orientation week, where we provide them with all the information that they need to know to successfully settle in the city of Kamloops in Canada. We'll talk about culture, we'll talk about safety, and then we'll look into academic component as well. As I already mentioned, there's a separate student service that is just helping and working with international students, but there's also other academic support services, doctor's office on campus, and other services that students get to access. So it doesn't matter whether you are an international or a local Canadian student, there's tons of support that we provide at TRU. And of course, it is all free of charge. If you need somebody to proofread your paper, you just make an appointment at the Writing Center, and that's how you get your support.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Tatiana. Moving to Carleton University, why students should choose Ottawa and the Carleton University? Tell us about that, Robert.
Sure. Yeah. So I think Carleton's a great choice for students because we offer a broad array of subjects, and most of them can be combined in really personal, interesting ways. Meaning that a student that's seeking a specific sort of professional outcome when they graduate, maybe they want to work in business or finance or engineering, you certainly have the latitude to pursue that, while at the same time adding different elements to your degree to kind of get that well-rounded education. So really well known for programs in engineering and design, social science, the arts, and commerce, recognized across Canada and globally for this as well. We also offer an exceptionally strong co-op program, which allows students to add professional paid work directly related to their degree as part of their study plan. So as you move through your studies, you can actually gain valuable experience, develop industry contacts, a LinkedIn profile, making it a lot more seamless to graduate and enter your professional career post-graduation as well. So really strong linkages between the university and professional organizations right across Canada and around the world as well, all of which makes our programs really interesting, I think. Again, we offer this in a beautiful context. Of course, the campus itself is like a giant green park in a vibrant city with a lot of opportunities both in the classroom and outside of the classroom as well.
Amazing. We have actually live streaming of the webinar to Facebook and YouTube, and we already have some questions. I think the first question that our students have about the programs, and I think it's the right way to start talking about the programs. Yeah, we can go quickly, and then we'll answer to the students' question about electric power program. I think it's something connected with engineering. Tatiana, let's talk about TRU, its programs, and how it's they are built, so our students have more and parents have more detailed information about the structure of the programs at TRU.
I'll do a very quick overview, and then we'll be happy to talk specifically about, questions related to the programs that students are looking for. So what we have at TRU is not only the bachelor undergraduate degrees that are 4 years, but we also offer diplomas, which is basically a 2-year program that can help you jumpstart your career with the entry-level positions or continue 3rd, 4th year of the undergraduate degree within the same university, or even transfer some credits to other universities. The diploma could be an option for high school graduates, or again, right away enter the 4-year bachelor degree. We do have programs for mature students who have either completed bachelor degree or about to complete the program. You can explore one of the post-baccalaureate options, also known as post-grad in some other provinces, right? But we name them post-bac, or master level programs. So that would be the highest level that we offer. When it comes to the faculties, there's 9 faculties altogether. We have a very strong faculty of tourism, known as one of the best in the province of British Columbia, especially when it comes to outdoors, adventure studies, thanks to our location, because again, there's going to be a lot of practicality. There's going to be those field trips. There's going to be classes like kayaking, rock climbing, and so on. Of course, outside of looking at the management side of the adventure business. From the tourism standpoint, British Columbia is known as a tourism cradle, right? So even with the pandemic, there's still local tourism. Of course, depending on the restrictions the local government poses, right? But the industry is still present, still staying strong, and there's a lot of support from the residents of British Columbia to make sure that the sector continues to stay active, stay live. So diplomas, the students can explore either events and conventions, sport tourism events. Bachelor degree, you still have the choice to branch out into either your festivals and events, adventure studies, or look at it as the innovation and entrepreneurial opportunity. With post-baccalaureate studies, we do take students with various backgrounds. So you don't have to come from the tourism background in order for you to be accepted for the post-bac programs in one of those listed under the tourism program. The next faculty that we have is the Faculty of Arts. So if you are not really into the math, I would say, if you don't really do well with numbers, with statistics and so on, there's ways for you to explore creative programs, like for example, theater arts that we have, or journalism, if you feel like, writing is more about your passion. Communication is a great program, especially in a modern world where there's a lot of social media content, where you need to have those professionals, I would say, who could take you to the next level through the social media presence, through online presence. So that would be a great program to study. And some, as I would call, classics, right? Your psychology, sociology, economics, and political studies. So great choice for students who are looking to move away from numbers, from sciences. The next faculty that we have is the School of Business and Economics. Yes, that's the next slide. Thank you. School of Business and Economics is definitely, I'd say, the most popular among international students. Here we provide the options of some diploma programs, mainly bachelor degree programs, post-baccalaureate, and 2 amazing master level programs, especially Master of Environmental Economics and Management, looking at sustainable economic development, which is quite crucial taking today's situation. So great program, great employment outcomes as well. If you don't mind, take me to the next slide. Thank you.
Sure.
And so again, from the School of Business and Economics, it's not only the bachelor degree that students can do just focusing on business, selecting one of the majors. We can also do offer a double degree, where in just 5 years, you can get your major under the business program, as well as add major under either computing science or the Bachelor of Arts. So you graduate with double degree within just 5 years.
Is it hard to get into double degree programs? Or I know we will talk about admission requirements a bit later, but I would like to ask it now. Is it difficult to get into those programs, or the admission requirements are mostly the same as for this bachelor degree?
The degree in business plus computing science will be a little bit more difficult to enter compared to business plus the arts degree, because computing science is more of a limited seat competitive program. So students need to come with a strong level of English. And because of the workload that students will face, of course, it is better if they are more of a higher academic profile student.
Thank you, Tatiana. And the Faculty of the Science.
Faculty of the Science is really strong at TRU because of practicality. So we basically give students access to lab components from the very first semester. We want them to go into the labs, so want them to get to know the equipment, and again, implement that theory that they've studied throughout the regular lectures, seminars, and so on. Lots of different majors for students to select from, especially when it comes to biology. As you can see, there's about 5 different types of biology that students can study. Really good environmental mathematical studies that we offer. Math and statistics is extremely strong subdivision of the Faculty of Science. Computing science is very popular as well, including the software engineering program, which is one of the few engineering programs that we start to develop at TRU, again with great employment outcomes. Next faculty, please.
Yes, so the student has asked about the engineering program. So would you please tell us about, a little bit more about engineering? So you don't have like bachelor's degree in classical engineering program, but there is an opportunity for students to take a year or two at the TRU and then transfer to other BC universities.
Yes, well, because engineering school is a school that we are developing, started with software engineering. So that's going to be the only bachelor level program under the engineering portfolio that TRU offers for now. There's few more programs coming down the pipe later on. But we do provide an opportunity for students to transfer to either University of British Columbia or University of Victoria to their schools of engineering, depending on the type of engineering program student is looking for. So we have a direct agreement for students to get onto the year 2 with University of British Columbia, or directly into the year 3 with University of Victoria if students are looking at computing engineering and electrical engineering. So those will be the options.
Perfect. And the Faculty of Software Engineering.
Yes, so that is the Bachelor of Software Engineering. Again, one of those programs that are worth highlighting because of the work opportunities upon graduation that we see quite successful. And the program also has a unique structure where usually core program is an elective for students to choose to select the number of semesters they want to undertake, where here COPE is a part of the curriculum. So it's a 5-year program with a mandatory 1-year work experience for students to graduate as a professional. Again, lots of lab components. So most of the classes will be basically taught in a lab component for students to getting to know that software, to develop, to test, and so on. It's a very hands-on program. Quite competitive though, so we have to make sure that student has English skills that are required for them to be successful.
Perfect, Tatiana. And just quickly about other faculties, and we will try to move forward, and students are really excited about the transfer from Russian or Ukrainian university to TRU and Carleton University.
Great. So I would say again, so what makes us unique that not all the universities offer a School of Trades and Technology. We do, and often students are not yet aware of the options that this particular faculty gives them. So usually it's a diploma level programs that get students into the work environment right away with well-paid check, right, the wages that students receive. I want to stress more on the water and wastewater technology program that TRU offers. Here in Canada, not just in BC, but across Canada, we drink tap water, right, because we know that it's safe and clean water for us to drink, and of course there's professionals who are needed to work in that particular sector. Those classes are actually taking place at a water treatment plant here in Kemlups, so students get to see the real work environment, get to basically play with that equipment, right, understand every level, every operational level of purifying the water, working with wastewaters and so on. Again, great demand in the upon graduation. We see 100% employment rate upon graduation. The School of Education, Faculty of Education and Social Work is another option that we offer for those who want to work with either K-12 sector or looking to get a master's degree in education. So that would be an option, or early childhood education if you want to work with preschool level kids.
Thank you, Tatiana. So all these programs you've mentioned are available for transfer from Russian or Ukrainian university to TRU, or there are some exceptions. We will move forward so Robert can go through the programs that Carleton offer, and then we will talk specifically about how transfer works at TRU and Carleton University specifically.
Well, master level programs will not offer any transfer credit. So that's a different story. We need to make sure that student meets all the requirements and they start their studies on a master level, right, separately. But when it comes to bachelor level programs, even some diploma level programs, that's where we have more room for assessment of students' transcripts and understand what are the classes that we can potentially recognize, and thus waive those classes so students don't have to repeat them.
Amazing. So Robert, let's talk about the programs that you offer and the programs that students can transfer to at Carleton University.
Sure. Yeah. So like TRU, Carleton offers a broad array of subjects at different levels. So of course, we offer bachelor's degrees, and the bulk of our transfer students will be looking to transfer into a bachelor's level degree. Postgraduate programs include the master's and PhD. For the purpose of today, we won't talk about those programs. We do offer post-baccalaureates as well as diploma programs as well. But I think of interest for the most part would be our 22 different undergraduate degree programs grouped over 5 faculties. So of course, I'll speak briefly about each faculty. One of our biggest, most popular with international students is, of course, engineering and design. Engineering at Carleton is a large faculty. We're one of the biggest engineering schools in Canada. We actually have 13 different undergraduate majors. So the core programs that you would expect, including civil, electrical, and mechanical, of course, but you'll also find very interesting options like aerospace engineering, one of the first in the country, as well as environmental, sustainable, renewable energy. I think certainly how the future looks, environmental engineering skills will be critically important. Biomedical engineering, just to name a few. Also a famous school of architecture. So if you're looking at becoming an architect, we're one of the few universities that offers bachelor's, master's, and PhD for architecture students. We have a big faculty of science at Carleton. Of course, we offer health sciences for those looking to do advanced research or medicine, as well as information technology, mathematics, and computer science. Computer science is interesting to mention because many of our graduates over the years have gone on to open IT companies based in Ottawa. Ottawa itself is sometimes known as Silicon Valley of the North because of the huge concentration of IT housed in the city. One homegrown example that's become quite famous is Shopify, of course, and we offer interesting internships with organizations like Shopify right in the city of Ottawa as well. So strong faculty of science. For business students, we offer both commerce and international business. At Carleton, all of the usual business majors are available: accounting, finance, entrepreneurial studies, supply chain management, human resources. All of those are available and can be combined together in interesting ways. Also, though, international business is a separate degree. So if you're looking to create business experience in an international context and acquire a third or fourth language, depending upon your background, that's something that this program is really well known for. We're one of 5% of the world's universities that holds international accreditation for our business school as well. So it's a unique attribute also. And then I'd say science, social science degrees, of course. So in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, we offer the oldest journalism program in Canada. It's a very prestigious program at Carleton, very well recognized globally. Given our location in Ottawa, global and international studies. So being able to study international politics, public policy in an international context, governance, these are very strong programs at Carleton. Many of our graduates go on to work in the foreign service or for governments in Canada, obviously, but around the world as well. And as I said before, most of our programs could be combined together. So you can study international relations with French, or international law and economics, or even an engineering degree and pursue business at the same time. So really interesting options across all of these areas. All of those programs accept transfer students. Indeed, when you look at Carleton's community of students, we have a long history of welcoming transfer students. They come from across Ontario, across Canada, and outside of Canada as well. Overall, we do our best to recognize prior learning and to inform students about what that prior learning looks like in terms of their Carleton degree upfront at the time of admission as well. So strong programs, most of which are available for transfer students.
Amazing. So now we are moving to the most important part. It's about transfer credits. So how it works for international students transferring from Russian or Ukrainian universities to TRU. How it works, please tell us, Tatiana, what are the deadlines? What are the requirements? Now, as much details as possible so our students and parents have a clear understanding of this procedure.
It is a lengthy process. That's the first thing that students and parents need to understand. Thus, the sooner you express the interest to transfer credits, the better it is for both for us as a school, because we have enough time to go through all the assessments needed. And of course, for students, especially if they're looking to get some transfer credits before the start of their first semester. So the recommended deadline for students to express interest and apply is April 1st. When we talk about this particular deadline for transfer credit, as you see in my notes here, that students need to be accepted to TRU. So you need to express that interest for transfer credit as an accepted student to TRU. So there's no pre-assessment before you apply to the university. That's important to understand. So we offer that opportunity for those students who tell us that I will be coming to TRU to study. That's my background that I'm coming with. Please, let's evaluate if there are any classes that I can recognize from that previous curriculum that I've already completed, whether it's a year, whether it's a 2-year program that they've done, or uncompleted a post-secondary education, and they're looking to transfer those credits. We can offer up to 50% transfer credit. So please, again, have that understanding that transfer credit is, it doesn't mean that if you completed 2 years, either overseas or maybe even in other province in the country, you will be automatically accepted to the 3rd year of the program. So what transfer credit does is basically going through both curriculums and looking for matches of those classes, thus waiving them from the curriculum at TRU, so you don't have to go through them again. Now, students need to also go from come from the recognized post-secondary institution. And what we mean by that is the recognized institution need to be accredited with the Ministry of Advanced Education in your local area, in the local country, basically, right? So that's what we're looking for when student is transferring. Is the institution recognized? Are there accreditations from the Ministry of Education in place? And if there are, then we can start the process of evaluating the transfer credit. We ask students to provide official transcripts. So we see that these are the official results that students received. And we ask to provide the course outline. The course outline helps us to understand if curriculums do indeed match or they don't match, right? Because the name can be the same, but the actual course content can be very different. So the course outline will help us understand what are the topics that were a part of this class, the particular course content, the particular literature, the textbook, the materials that were covered, the assessment method, the grading system. So all of that needs to be provided for us to be able to do our job in assessing how many transfer credits we can do for the student.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. So I will ask some questions for you, and later on I will make some up in Russian so students have a better understanding. You have several intakes, as we know. It's also starting in winter or even in May. So does transfer credit work for all intakes and for all programs and the faculty?
Yes. Yes, so transfer credit is not only a fall intake option, it is just to kind of show you the approximate timeline that at least, express your interest, ideally 6 months before you start the program, to give us that time to finish all the assessments. So yes, it will be offered for every intake available at TRU. Again, more success that we see is with our undergraduate level programs, bachelor degrees, and post-baccalaureate programs that we can recognize those transfer credits. Usually the transfer credit is offered For a lower level classes, if you want me to focus more on the actual composition of the program, I can do that so students can have a better understanding what do I mean by the lower level classes. So those would be the classes from the first and second year of undergraduate program of a bachelor degree. When students start their bachelor degree program per se, there's core classes that students must complete to receive their credentials, and there's also elective classes. So if there's sometimes no direct match from the core classes, we can see if maybe some of the credits can be recognized as one of the electives that students would take with TRU. So we would offer that flexibility as well.
Again, just for me to clarify, so in total, one student get information from admissions that you received that or that amount of credits. Does admissions make a note that it's for electives or for the mandatory classes, the credit, or it's how it is recognized?
So that wouldn't come from the admission office. It usually comes at the stage where students start working on the course planning with their academic advisors. So academic advisors will be the ones who will help students understand that these are the classes that you've already completed. If some of those classes don't match with the core course that students need to complete, are there any classes that they've completed could possibly match one of the electives that we can offer at TRU? And thus they plan that individually with every student. So every semester is planned together with academic advisors at TRU. Hence again, there's that support for students to understand the system from within and not to be lost with this whole transfer credit course planning scheduling process.
Can student, for example, he studied engineering or business or science, to switch the faculties and ask for transfer credit? Will this work for TRU?
Yes, there's a lot of flexibility for students to change their faculty, to change their program. However, we also need to understand at what stage does the student express the interest, right? Do we already have 2 years completed of, say, science program, and now we're switching into business, right? We need to understand how different are the curriculums that students have already completed. If student expresses their interest during the first semester or even during the first year, there's lots of flexibility, and a lot of those classes that they've already completed can be recognized towards their next degree. Thus doesn't stretch the program. So we can basically consider that semester that they've completed and fully transfer that towards whatever faculty they decide to switch, unless again the faculties are very different in the nature. So if I'm transferring from the art faculty to the science faculty or vice versa, right? We need to understand what are the classes that can possibly be transferred, recognized as electives. But again, that is all planned together with our academic advisors. So students don't need to stress that much. They just need to talk to their advisor and say, I'm considering switching to, say, communication program, and I'm coming from the business background, right? I've completed my first semester of business. Can I transfer all my credits to now the bachelor in communication? So it's that's how they usually work it out.
And 2 more questions for you. How long does it take for the university admissions to assess all the documents? Yes, for credit transfer, and when students usually get to know how much?
Sorry, Arpine, I think I've lost you there for a moment. Could be my connection, it could be general connection issues.
There's some issues with the connection.
So I did hear the first
Yes.
part of the question, but I think I missed the second part of the question.
Do you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I will repeat for the admissions to assess all the documents for credit transfer. And the second question was, when usually students get to know how much credit they will receive from TRU?
So first thing first is admissions. As you can see, transfer credit is offered for students who have been accepted to TRU, right? So the first step is for admission to accept the student into the program. From there, it goes to our transfer credit department. So it's not the admission who evaluates how many credits could possibly be recognized. They are the ones who accept the documents with the transfer credit interest, but it all goes to our transfer credit department, who then goes and vets the documents for the authenticity, for all the accreditations in place, and start comparing course outlines in post-secondary institution where a student is coming from with the course outline offered at TRU. Again, because the process itself is quite lengthy, at least 6 months is recommended. So if students express and provide all the supporting documents before the recommended deadlines, there are chances that they will know exactly the number of credits that are transferred before they start the semester, before our academic advisors will start planning their courses. But the later they submit that, the higher the chances that maybe the course transfer credit courses will be known only by the second semester. And with that in mind, as long as our academic advisors see that students express the interest in the transfer credit, they are very tedious in their course planning to make sure that the courses that are offered during the first semester are not potentially the courses that could be transferred. So I hope that answered the question.
Yes, thank you. I will make a summary in Russian, if you don't mind. If I miss something, just please add at the notes. And we had also some questions in the chat, so later on we will answer them as well. It's regarding transfer credits. Дорогие друзья, основная наша тема сегодняшнего вебинара, это, конечно же, поговорит о том, как перевестись из российского или украинского вуза в канадский. Мы сегодня с Татьяной говорили о Thompson Rivers University. Да, такая опция с переводом есть, но существует ряд нюансов, которым вы должны соответствовать. Первое, это нужно поступить, скажем, на первый курс выбранной вами программы. Для того, чтобы это сделать, вы подаете документы до школьной оценки, да, если мы говорим о бакалавриате, это аттестат, и плюс знания по английскому языку IELTS либо TOEFL. Без знания языка, к сожалению, приемная комиссия, да, и вуз не смогут сделать вам перезачет пройденных предметов. Как только вы получаете зачисление из вуза, вас принимают. Следующий этап – это уже, конечно же, подать документы на перевод, да, чтобы вам зачли изученные вами предметы в университете. Учитывая тот факт, что программа обучения в Канаде и система образования в Канаде, в Украине и в России, она абсолютно разная, университету в Канаде очень важно, чтобы вы предоставили академическую выписку с оценками из университета и подробный план, подробные ответы, какими учебниками пользовались. В общем, все досконально прописать. Такой документ выдает, как правило, ваше учебное заведение. Рассматривается весь этот процесс довольно-таки долго, это может занять до полугода, а то и более. И как отметила Татьяна, вуз Thompson Rivers University сможет вам зачесть максимум половину того, что вы прошли. Это связано с тем, как я уже сказала, с разницей в системе образования и в программах обучения. Вы можете обучаться в России либо в Украине на одном факультете и потом попробовать перевестись на другой факультет, это также возможно. Но здесь есть нюансы, потому что разные абсолютно программы, разные абсолютно предметы и материал. Соответственно, вуз будет сравнивать, и уже, скорее всего, по приезде, да, вы сможете узнать, в каком объеме вам перезачли ваше обучение в России либо в Украине, и ваш студенческий адвайзер, да, поможет вам составить планы уже со второго семестра, когда вы будете в Канаде, вы уже поймете, в каком направлении вам двигаться и сколько еще нужно будет так называемых кредитов брать, чтобы закончить. В Канаде, как вы знаете, там кредитная система обучения, то есть студент заканчивает предмет, они исчисляются в кредитах. Чтобы закончить программу бакалавриата, нужно набрать 120 кредитов. Соответственно, ваши предметы, которые вы изучали или изучаете сейчас в Украине либо в России, будут переведены в канадскую систему в эти кредиты. И, соответственно, вы будете уже дальше по программе добирать свои предметы, кредиты, чтобы окончить программу уже непосредственно в Thompson Rivers University. Tatiana, tell me if I missed something.
I think you covered it pretty well. Maybe one thing that I'll add, and if you don't mind, I'll switch into Russian here just for the details.
Sure.
Сейчас мысли на русском соберу. Что хотелось опять-таки указать, что да, действительно, кредитная система, да, это важно понимать и принимать во внимание, то есть даже если вы закончили полностью первый, второй курс, да, и вам перезачитывают некоторые классы из первого, второго курса, допустим, университета TRU, все равно будьте готовы, что, может быть, какие-то другие классы, да, которые не были перезачтены, все равно вам будут даваться TRU либо другим учебным заведениям из того же первого года, из того же второго года. То есть, опять-таки, не подразумеваем, что это автоматический перевод на следующий год обучения, да, на третий, там, допустим, или на второй, если вы только год закончили. Какие-то классы с первого года уберутся, какие-то все равно останутся в вашем curriculum. I think that was all I wanted to add.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. And moving to Carleton University, let's talk about the transfer credit, how it works in Carleton University. Would you please, Robert, tell us, are there maybe any differences, or it is the same like TRU, maybe some nuances we should cover now, please?
Yeah, sounds good. Just to begin, can I just confirm that you're able to hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Robert, we do. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I had to change my headset. I had a small issue with that. Wonderful. So I guess the good news is you're going to hear a lot of similar themes from me. So I think the process at Carleton and the process at TRU seem to be really similar. Broadly speaking, the process is straightforward. So after an applicant applies as a transfer student, we would ask for official transcripts from an accredited or recognized university or post-secondary institution. Those course descriptions would need to be translated into English, and then we would work with our faculty members on assessing each course on a course-by-course basis. We do that in tandem with assessing the application. So given that the course descriptions are sent to each department, there can sometimes be a bit of a delay in terms of getting a reply. So certainly applying early can be really helpful. As we receive course descriptions back, we enter them into an academic degree audit. And then at the time of admission, we're able to share with the students very clear recognition of what the completed courses would look like in the Carleton context. So at times that could be a direct transfer credit, meaning you took psychology 1001, it equals our course, seamless. But often you'll see that we could say, okay, we see that you've taken a psychology second-year university course. We don't offer that exact credit, but we can still credit you for something that's comparable. And then that would be used to fulfill either the degree requirement or an elective course. And so with this degree audit, you could see it as like a roadmap for your degree. It would show you all of the transfer credit in relation to which courses still need to be taken at Carleton, and that would inform how you register for classes at the university. So I think the key message is it's a seamless process. It's something our admissions team will do for you automatically. It can take a little bit of time, but it's overall a fairly straightforward process. And after admission, we'd be really happy to clearly articulate what those courses look like and how they situate within your new degree at Carleton University. It's worth mentioning, of course, that we do work with a number of institutions within Canada on formal pathways. So from Ontario colleges, I saw, for example, a question about Mohawk College. We do offer formal articulation with many of those programs. So seamless transition from a 2-year program into a Carleton degree. Overall, we do our best to recognize and grant credit for prior learning as long as it's from an accredited institution, either within Canada or outside of Canada as well. Beyond that, there aren't really timelines. We will continue to accept transfer credit students even after the April 1st deadline, being mindful that course registration at Carleton starts in June. So having your courses assessed prior to that would be extremely helpful. More information, of course, is through our website. We have a dedicated page that outlines the transfer credit process. And of course, we're here to help as well.
Thank you very much, Robert. Are there any specific deadline? Would you please remind us, like as early you apply for this process as that's the most possible and the best way, of course. But students usually should come to Canada and find out how many credits they got transferred, or you can inform them in advance.
We'll definitely do that in advance. So I would say, we can do that assessment in parallel with assessing the application and offering the letter of acceptance. And therefore, students can make an informed decision about what makes the most sense for them in terms of course recognition. So if they've completed 2 years of a university program, for example, and they're hoping to seamlessly move into third year, they can kind of go through that process and have a solid understanding of what that actually looks like in the Carleton context and weigh that against other institutions they might be applying to as well. Not all courses will be applicable for transfer, of course. So if you're coming out of a fine arts program and applying to a business degree, we could recognize completed coursework, but it may not actually advance your degree significantly. You'll find it's a lot more seamless when there's comparable programs. So moving from a psychology program to another psychology program, you're probably going to get the bulk of your courses recognized, and it's going to be a fairly seamless transition. Making a degree switch could add time to the degree. Most people probably appreciate that, but it's worth saying.
Should students send their transcript directly, by hard copies by mail, or email copies will be enough for admissions?
Yeah, one of the nice things about our partnership working with Students International is we're really happy to receive course descriptions and official transcripts from Students International directly. That's something we can receive by email, but we also have a portal that students can use to upload documents directly to their application in real time, which also saves a bit of time as well. So both options are available.
Would you please tell us a little bit more about engineering process? What is it? What kind of petitions should students follow? What they should do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the one exception or the one difference would be engineering. So in that particular faculty, there is a slightly different way of moving transfer credit forward, and it has to do with the very rigorous accreditation we have in place here in Canada for engineering programs. So recognizing, or maybe I'll start at a different place. Engineering degrees are required by the accreditation body to teach very specific contents. And if they don't deliver on that, it compromises the integrity of the degree. It's one of the most rigorous standards available in the world, actually. So Canada's engineering programs are really highly structured. Because of that, the course descriptions for engineering are assessed by the faculty on a case-by-case basis. So I would say after admission at Carleton, you then go through that process, which is different from all of our other degrees. So you apply to the university as a transfer student, you get admitted with 0 transfer credit. But after having that offer in hand, you petition the engineering department on a course-by-course basis, and then they review and determine which ones would be recognized. And then from that perspective, I would say applying to transfer into engineering, you can certainly do that after completing 1 or 2 years at another institution. Beyond that, I think you risk not having, your courses recognized or enough of them recognized for it to make sense. You still could go through that process, and depending upon life circumstances, you're coming to Canada anyways, you may still want to do it. But depending upon how far along you are in your degree, so I would say 1 year, 2 years, certainly. Beyond that, you may find you have to retake some courses. I think the key message, though, is we do recognize engineering courses for transfer credit. It's just a slightly different process for that degree.
Regarding English requirements, as Tatiana mentioned, the student must meet them first in order to apply for credit transfer. How about Carleton University? Can students submit English requirements later or first IELTS or TOEFL?
Yeah, it's a similar, ultimately it amounts to the same thing, but it's a different maybe process. So for our degree assessment, we require the English proficiency test in tandem with the academic documentation. So we would assess the students' IELTS, Duolingo, Pearson, TOEFL, etc., and determine their admissibility for the program. Carleton does offer a foundation program, which is ESL credit that one takes in tandem with completing degree credit. So if you had an IELTS of a 5 up to a 6.5, so you would be in this foundation level, you could begin your degree while taking ESL courses at the same time. So from that perspective, the transfer credit is a separate piece. You're eligible for that regardless, but you do have to meet the English proficiency requirement to qualify for admission to the university overall.
Thank you, Robert. I'll make sum up in Russian, and I will ask very tricky question to you and Tatiana. I hope you will be able to answer it. Дорогие друзья, перевод в Carleton University также возможен. Процесс схож с Thompson Rivers University. Но есть ряд нюансов, так как Carleton предлагает программы по инжинирингу. На эти программы довольно-таки сложно сделать перевод, потому что программы инжиниринга в Канаде следуют определенным стандартам, определенной программе, после которой студенты, соответственно, получают лицензии, могут работать. Здесь процесс будет немного сложнее. Что касается остальных программ, принцип тот же. Вы предоставляете ваши транскрипты, оценки, выписку, подробное описание всех изученных предметов, и все документы это можно будет отправить уже в сканированном виде. Не нужно будет их отправлять по почте, как это того требует Thompson Rivers University. И плюс, если у вас не хватает английского языка, то вы можете добрать его, соответственно, в университете, подтянуть его. И, конечно же, вы сможете начать свою программу в университете, но сперва нужно будет подтянуть английский язык. Да? Для прямого поступления нужен IELTS 6,5, но если он у вас чуть ниже, то вы сперва заканчиваете подготовку по английскому языку в университете, подтягиваете до нужного балла, и только после этого приступаете к основной программе. Знание, скажем, языка не повлияет на ваш перевод. В любом случае университет рассмотрит и скажет, что можно зачесть, что могут вам зачесть, а что нет. Robert, Tatiana, please tell us if there were any cases that the transfer credit department didn't do any transfers, like they said, no, we can't do that. And how often it can happen?
Sure, I can start. I would say for the Carleton University, so it's managed by our international admissions office. So it's my team of colleagues that sort of assess those courses up front and then send them out. So I would say, the key criteria would be that the student is applying from a recognized accredited institution, and that basis of admission would allow for us to send the course descriptions out to the departments. So, students that have completed some post-secondary study, whether it's, an Ontario college or a Russian university, perhaps, would be eligible for a course description assessment, and we'd be able to do that with the faculties. Sometimes courses aren't determined to be directly transmissible. So, for example, as I say, if you're doing a fine arts program, it's a degree that Carleton doesn't offer. So we wouldn't recognize and probably offer advanced standing for those courses. They wouldn't be helpful for the degree anyways. But other than that, we do our best to recognize prior learning. And as long as the students completed, time and done well academically, that's a key piece as well. They need to be in good academic standing. But of course, if they qualify for admission, that would be the case anyways. So I would say for a student to receive 0 credit would be not a likely outcome.
Amazing. Tatiana?
So I would say it's the same story here with TRU. So unless the student comes from the unrecognized institutions, then of course we cannot offer the transfer credit for those cases. But if student comes from a recognized institution, we do offer transfer credit for those classes that match TRU's curriculum. We did have cases where students themselves decided to repeat the class because they wanted to understand more of a Canadian content behind. So those cases did happen. But yeah, as long as student is eligible eligible, we will offer that, and then it's going to be up to the student to decide if they are accepting the transfer credit or if there are some classes that they choose to basically undertake again.
Thank you. And I think the one more important thing that we should talk about is about the fees. So how much does it cost tuition at TRU, maybe some other costs, and definitely that's when students get transfer credit, the tuition fees and in total will be less than the full 4 years of studies, for example, bachelor's degree.
Yes, yes, that definitely helps students to save the cost of their tuition. I will explain the way the system works at TRU. So when student receives their conditional letter of acceptance, they will see the deposit amount that students pay, thus confirming that they're accepting that seat. So the deposit amount that students pay is usually based on the maximum course load that students can take, which is 5 classes per semester or 15 credits. Once they're ready to register, that's where they have the flexibility to either start with 4 classes or 12 credits per semester, or jump into the full course load of 5 classes. And that's how our tuition fee is based. So as you can see, students, if they choose to start with 4 classes per semester, kind of like an easy jump start, while especially the first semester, they are adjusting, trying to understand the academic environment, they pay 7,540 Canadian dollars per semester of studies. That's if we talk about undergraduate programs, so all the bachelor degrees, diploma programs. There are some exceptions, and they are usually either technology-related programs, like water and wastewater technology will have a different fee structure. Engineering program will have a different fee structure, but majority of our programs offer the same tuition fee. Post-baccalaureate programs, again, students have a lot of flexibility to plan their course load as long as they still maintain the status of a full-time student. There's going to be flexibility for them to choose either 4 classes per semester or 5 classes per semester, and thus pay tuition based on the number of credits that they register into. And you can see that master level program has a different fee structure based on the program itself, as listed here on the slide.
And some other costs that may occur during studies at TRU.
Yes, some expenses to account for is the housing expenses. That's where there's flexibility to work with the budget because of those different options, either on campus, off campus, homestay, or private rental that our international student advisors can assist with, or at least pointing at the direction or where to look for those places for private rental. Outside of those expenses are groceries, because especially if students choose to live in one of the residences, there's no meal plan provided, right? So groceries will come on top of those expenses. Medical insurance, which is mandatory in the province of British Columbia from the government, local government of British Columbia. Bills, students usually pay for the internet themselves if they choose to stay either in the residence or private arrangement. The internet on campus is provided, easily accessed for every student free of charge, but outside of campus premises, students do arrange their phone bills. So those are the extra expenses that students need to consider when planning the overall budget that they're going to be working with. But if we are to add all the expenses that students will face during the full year, not just academic year, but calendar year, 12 months, then I can say that students can fit into the budget of 28 to 32,000 Canadian dollars per year, including tuition and other expenses.
Not that expensive, by the way.
Still quite affordable.
Yeah, quite affordable. How about cost and of tuition and other stuff in Carleton University? So what amount should students take into account while considering Carleton University?
Sure. So here you can see our cost for tuition and fees in both Canadian and US dollars. So you're looking at a range of $28,000 to $40,000 approximately for tuition for 1 year of study. So that would represent full-time studies from September through till April. And then an additional $11,000 to $12,000 for meal and rent. So living expenses on or off campus. So approximately that would represent the total fees, but mindful that Carleton offers generous scholarships. So a lot of students that apply to the university would be eligible or assessed at least for scholarships based on their admission averages. So we would take a look at the student for admissibility and then to determine whether or not they qualify for an upfront scholarship or if they'd like to apply for in-course scholarships as well. Those are certainly available at the university also.
And what are the most expensive program at Carleton? As we saw, it's up to almost 40,000 Canadian per year.
Yeah, so the range that you see there represents different degree programs. So courses that tend to have less lab fees, like a Bachelor of Arts in History, for example, is a less expensive degree than a lab-based research degree like the Bachelor of Science or, of course, engineering as well. So it's those courses that have a heavy lab component that tend to be more expensive.
Okay, how about the scholarships? Should students apply separately or some can be reviewed automatically upon application?
We have different types of scholarships. So we offer entrance awards, which are based on the admission average and assessed automatically for students. So that's not something you have to worry about. We do that for students at the time of admission. We do offer competitive prestige awards that students are eligible to apply for as well. Those are more generous, but they're competitive and they're based on a combination of extracurricular activities, demonstrated leadership skills, and academic excellence. So sort of presenting this different array of experiences that you've completed, demonstrate that through writing an essay, automatically assessed and considered for every prestige scholarship that we offer. Carleton also gives away money based on financial need. This isn't available upfront. It's something that second, third, and fourth year, or once you are a Carleton student, you could apply for. It's assessed based on your family finances and separate from your academic performance. So it's just a way of supporting our students if and when they have a need, a demonstrated need for additional support. The other funding piece I like to speak about with families when you're contemplating studying at Carleton and in Canada, of course, international students have the capacity to work part-time as they complete their studies as well. We have great support on campus for that. So whether you want to work for the university or seek off-campus employment, that's something Carleton's able to assist with. And then through our co-op program, so these are professional paid internships where the salary you would earn would be really comparable to something you might expect to earn as a new graduate. So if you're, a computer scientist writing algorithms or a new engineer, all of the degrees that offer co-op, you can look at earning a salary that could be potentially quite high. And that's a great way to help cover university expenses as well. So we sort of look at scholarships, bursaries, part-time employment, and co-op as sort of a comprehensive package when looking at budgeting for university.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Robert. And I think the most important thing that all students and parents are asking and worry about is the current situation regarding COVID-19 and how do universities deal with that right now or plan to deal with in the upcoming year. Tatiana, would you please explain about TRU's strategy regarding COVID-19?
Well, first of all, I want to highlight that TRU is on the list of approved DLI institutions who can accept students on campus. And that means that we have all the precautions in place, right? We meet all the requirements from the province to provide that safe space, provide the distancing to begin with for students. So the campus corresponds all the requirements that are in place from the province, from the local government to ensure that students are not compromised, the health is not compromised. And with that in place, we are currently working on increasing the face-to-face capacity. So as you know, fall semester, winter intake, majority of classes are offered virtually, and only those programs that have heavy lab component or trade programs, culinary art program, where you need to be on campus are still being offered face-to-face, but we are now working on introducing more of the classes that will be returning back to campus, again in a smaller capacity with distancing in place. But that's what the institution is currently working on. There'll be more communication coming from TRU as we progress through both COVID development, and I would expect that we'll hear more about the final plan sometime before the summer, probably May or so. Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. What we do help is definitely work with every student individually on their arrival plan and on their quarantine plan, because our student services still want to be in touch with the student, making sure that they are arriving within the timeline where they are available to assist, and of course arranging the quarantine in place. So TRU takes the responsibility to cover those 2 weeks of quarantine plan expenses. We place our students into one of the residents on campus that's already been arranged, right, to house students for quarantine. So we take care of that. And again, that's where the importance of getting in touch with the international student advisor to make sure all those arrangements are in place, as well as the letter of support indicating that student is expected to be on campus to help them with arriving to Canada, going through the border service with the letter of support. With that said, I mean, of course, we still expect the delay in visa. So that's why we ask students to please plan ahead, make sure that you have extra time budgeted for any unexpected delays with the study permit, with the embassy, or any other unforeseen development with the current pandemic.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. Can we expect that fall semester will be fully in class, or still hybrid option will take place?
It will be a hybrid option. We are not ready to open campus fully because, again, with the restrictions in place, campus cannot be functioning in full mode, in full capacity. That's why the goal for now is increase the number of classes that will be face-to-face on campus, but it will be a hybrid mode where some classes will be streamlined, some classes again will be offered in a recorded mode for students to access, considering the difference in time zones. So I would expect that more students will be able to come on campus, but there's still going to be a limited number of classes provided face-to-face.
Well, still good news, and fingers crossed you will be able to accept more students in class. How about Carleton University, Robert? How does the university face the current COVID-19 situation?
Yeah, it's a continuing challenge. We're watching and waiting and hoping, and I think better times are on the horizon, but we're definitely not out of the woods yet. Currently, our students are studying virtually. Outside of grad students, they need access to very specific resources. So distance learning is the standard practice in place, and that's going to continue throughout this summer. We are actively exploring how things progress over the next few months before we can make a call on what the fall looks like. The university has committed, of course, to offering more in-person learning. So there would likely be more people on campus than is currently the case, I should say, but it's certainly dependent upon vaccine rollout within Canada and around the world, without a definitive decision made at this point in time. Important to consider, though, that Carleton is an approved designated learning institution with a government-approved COVID-19 readiness plan, one of the first universities with the plan approved. So we are ready to go forward when it's safe to do so, but we're actively monitoring public health agency guidelines and working really closely with public health agencies around the country to make informed decisions going forward. Obviously, the safety of our faculty, staff, and students is the primary consideration here. So we're excited for things to be back to normal, and we're hoping that that can happen in September, but it's a little bit early to make that decision at this stage. What I can offer our applicants going forward is ongoing support. So whether it's up-to-date information about how Carleton is responding to the ongoing challenges with COVID-19, changing policies related to international travel, which of course we're seeing that roll out now here in Canada and other jurisdictions around the world as well. So we have a dedicated team of people in our International Student Services Office who are available to work with students on their arrival plan, on the quarantine after they arrive, and also on the study permit or visa processing as well. So, we do know that there's a bit of a backlog in the system. So applying early for a study permit is critically important. But if you need support with that, we have dedicated registered immigration student advisors on staff that are available to assist students each step of the way. We also host regular webinars and update sessions for students. So after you've applied to Carleton, we're going to be in contact with you to outline what happens next. And if and when any critically important decisions have been made, we'll communicate that back to students in a really clear, efficient way as well. So I guess the key piece I want people to know is we're really working closely to support our students, and we're going to continue to do that going forward as well.
Some engineering and science programs have lab components. For this kind of programs, is campus open for them so they can come and have some classes, or still online, especially for second, third year students?
Yeah, so as we look at the fall and as we look to roll out more in-person learning, those are the exact courses where that need is greatest. So I think you're going to see more students on campus, and those would be the ones that need access to labs for sure. So overall, I think we've done a really great job at kind of creating really deep, meaningful distance learning opportunities. So a tremendous amount of time and money has been spent on making the virtual learning experience a viable and engaging one. But for sure, you can't beat face-to-face learning, and in particular for students that access labs. So I think as we look at September and onwards, we'll see more and more students on campus for that. So it is happening as we speak, but we expect more students to be part of that going forward.
Fingers crossed. We have some questions in the chat. If you don't mind, we'll answer them. Ludmila is asking, if student has Canadian citizenship but finished high school and 2 years in Russian university, can he still be eligible for rates as Canadian students, not international? I think it's about the fees and maybe for transfer credit as well. So.
Yes, I can answer that question. Yes, as long as you have a Canadian citizenship, you will be paying as local domestic student. It doesn't matter that you completed your high school overseas. What matters is, as a local student, you have access to the government support and the local fees.
Yes, it was the question about the fees. Ludmila just made some note. I consider that Carleton is the same situation.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're a Canadian citizen, you hold that status, and student fees would reflect that for sure.
Thank you very much. Дорогие друзья, пожалуйста, пишите свои вопросы, если они у вас есть. Мы с радостью на них ответим. Сегодня, в принципе, был у нас довольно-таки объемный вебинар. Да, мы поговорили о 2 университетах, расположенных на абсолютно разных частях Канады, поговорили о программах, о том, есть ли возможность перевестись из российского либо украинского университета в канадский. Да, такая возможность есть. Поговорили о специфике. Если у вас есть вопросы, пожалуйста, задавайте нам их в чате. Если вдруг они у вас появятся позже, уверена, так и будет, пожалуйста, обращайтесь по телефонам, которые указаны на вашем сайте. Наши контакты в России, как вы видите на своих экранах, контакт нашего тест-центра и нашего языкового центра по подготовке к IELTS. И для всех слушателей сегодняшнего вебинара у нас есть спецпредложение для студентов из России. Это у нас, конечно же, бесплатные услуги нашей компании по оформлению в Carleton University и Thompson Rivers University. Скидка на сдачу экзамена IELTS. Здесь чуть подробнее остановлюсь. Если вы заключаете с нами договор, да, до 15 февраля, у вас есть возможность получить скидку, да, в данном случае на сдачу экзамена IELTS. Более подробно о том, как получить данную скидку, как эта система работает, вы можете обратиться к нам по телефонам и по имейлу, указанному на данном слайде. И плюс у нас есть скидка от нашей языковой школы, IELTS School, на подготовку. Это 20% на групповые курсы при записи до 5 февраля. И наши контакты в Украине. Вы можете сделать фотографию, либо скрин, также нашего тест-центра, нашего языкового центра. И у нас действует специальное предложение, бесплатное оформление, да, при условии заключения договора до 15 февраля в университет Thompson Rivers University и в Carleton University, плюс у вас будет скидка на подготовку к IELTS в нашем тест-центре в Украине.
Да, друзья, мы вас ждем, и, пожалуйста, не стесняйтесь, обращайтесь. Часто всегда сложно сделать первый шаг, если вы не знаете, с чего начать, либо вы сомневаетесь. Просто позвоните, и мы сделаем все, чтобы у вас, во-первых, все разложилось по полочкам, во-вторых, чтобы вы четко понимали, к чему вы идете. У вас будет понятный план, поверьте, мы сделаем все, чтобы он вам понравился, и условия у вас будут самые лучшие. Поэтому мы ждем ваших обращений.
Спасибо, Ростислав. Tatiana and Robert, there is one question in our Q&A section from Yana. I think Robert, you already answered her questions in the chat box, but Yana has another question. Is it possible to transfer from Canadian college after its completion to your university without losing credits and years of education? If we are talking about within Canada transfer.
Right. If you don't mind, I'll start with that. Sure. One thing to keep in mind that it will depend on the province you are transferring from, because it is easier to transfer within the province. There's some articulations in place. In BC, we have BC Transfer Guide, where you can even yourself start comparing the possibility for transferring those credits to TRU based on the classes that you've already completed. So it's easier to do within the province. If there's no direct articulations in place, then again, it's a regular transfer credit procedure where the university will have to assess the not only the transcripts, but as well as course outline from the institution you are coming from, and then do the match. Robert, if I missed something.
From the Carleton perspective, yeah, I mean, it's a similar thought. So we do, formally partner with many colleges across the country, most Ontario colleges, but some in BC, Nova Scotia, other locations. So at times there are formal pathways. In the Ontario context, there's the on-transfer website, which could be useful. But overall, I think the key thing is we do our best to recognize the prior learning completed at, any accredited institution. The one caveat is moving from a radically different program into a degree at the university may or may not be congruent. And in that case, you may not receive as much transfer credit as you might hope. But if you're looking at something really similar, then it should be straightforward and fairly seamless. And we do our best to give you as much credit as we can.
Thank you very much, Robert. I see there are no more questions from our students or potential or parents. So thank you very much for joining us today. It was quite interesting and useful information we received from both of you. I hope that students who all have questions, concerns, or requests, they are very free. Please feel free to contact us, and we're wishing you the rest of the lovely day. It's just started in Canada, and hope to see you soon in person.
Thank you, Arpine. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to the audience and to share more information on what TRU offers and our plans for upcoming fall. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arpine and Students International. Wonderful opportunity. I hope we were able to answer your questions. Definitely available to continue to engage. Feel free to email or, as I say, virtual campus tours, but stay healthy and safe, everyone.
Спасибо вам, дорогие друзья. Мы остаемся с вами на связи. Еще раз, наши контакты в России. Вы видите их на своих экранах. Можете сделать фотографию, либо скрин экрана. И наши контакты в Украине. Пожалуйста, обращайтесь ко мне, к моему коллеге Николаю, к Ростиславу, который работает в нашем киевском офисе. Мы будем рады вам помочь, подобрать учебное заведение, ответить на все ваши вопросы, помочь с зачислением и, скажем, пройти весь путь от А до Я. Желаем вам удачи и до новых встреч. Всем до свидания.